The changing nature of food in Canada. This is Sheila Reimer speaking to you today on food security in Canada. Eating. It's something that we have to do every few hours every day. It's like breathing. We have to eat or perish. But have we lost our connection to food? That's the question that Dr. Lenore Newman is asking. Dr. Newman was installed as Canada's Research Chair in Food Security and Environment at the University of the Fraser Valley just last August. This is her profile.
Food is the dialectic between nature and culture. Food mediates and bridges our culture and the natural world. And every time we eat, we betray the animal nature of ourselves.
Culturally, from the days of ancient Greek philosophers, we have been distancing ourselves from the natural world and the food which nurtures our bodies and sustains our minds. We are a spark of God, said Newman. It's this disconnection with the earth that Dr. Newman is deeply troubled with. It's not a complex situation.
I eat animals, and I have killed my own dinner on many occasions. And, to be honest, I think that's something that it bothers me that people don't have that connection anymore. And I think it's really important to have in your head that, an animal dies so that you can have dinner.
It is her roots to Haida Gwaii, formerly the Queen Charlotte Islands in British Columbia, that have fueled her passion for the environment and food security. Growing up in a resource family where her father fished for salmon and halibut, food has always been an important part of her life. While traveling extensively around the world, she returned home to Haida Gwaii, once referred to as the Galapagos Islands of the North, to find a path of destruction. One of the islands, Graham Island, had been logged so intently that it looked as if it had been strip-mined. During her travels, she had identified that there was a cultural sense of loss, a longing of how things used to be, and a widespread disconnection from the earth. Her thoughts crystallized, she tells me, into the belief that we don't have the social tools to match the power we have to impact the environment. This is the genesis of where she's at today, working on food security. Food security, what does it mean to you? Our food needs to be affordable. It needs to be accessible, varied, and interesting, economically sustainable for farmers, culturally appropriate, and sustainable for future Canadians. By looking at land usage in the Fraser Valley, we can put food security into perspective. Dr. Newman warns that urbanization of the fertile land in the valley is a major threat to farmers. The Fraser Valley has the largest and most valuable agricultural land in the country. The Agriculture Land Reserve Act is the only thing protecting it from the pressure of expanding city borders. Vancouver is rapidly emerging as one of Canada's major centres and a world city that, if not kept in check, could easily consume the region from Hope to Lions Bay. If we're not careful, we could see the area turn into a sprawling version of Los Angeles. Then there's the problem of our energy-intense diets. Since Canada is cold and we must import much of our food, it has to make environmental and economic sense. By choosing to eat lower on the food chain, say eating grass-fed over grain-fed beef, we can reduce the amount of energy expended to get the food to the table.
Yeah, for example, New Zealand exports lamb to Britain, and Britain exports lamb to New Zealand. And somewhere in the middle, the ships cross, and you're like, why does this make sense? And it does economically make sense, and that's part of the problem.
When asked what advice she could give farmers, Newman says, the honest advice is to get the hell out of farming. But for those who persist, her advice would be to start producing high-quality fruits and vegetables that you just can't get otherwise. Chefs are looking for rare varietals and flavor. They should be pioneering this emerging direction. Dr. Newman cares where she gets her food from and wants to form a relationship with her food producers. Her recipe for change includes being a little adventurous and going to the local farmers market to try new food. If she buys meat or eggs, she goes for free range and free run.
Know where it comes from. I think that's really critical. I mean, there are dairy and poultry producers here that do it very well in a way that's respectful to the animals and your health. And, go to those guys. And they need us.
Food security for Canada can be achieved through consumers like you. Leverage your buying power. With food, you're making a choice 3 times a day.
But with food, I can change it as much or as little as I want right away. I can decide I am not going to eat at fast food places anymore, and I can just do it. And bang, it's done.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful. And what we find is when people start thinking about their diet, they start making other changes. They start maybe getting some exercise, thinking about work-life balance. I mean, it's the gateway to great change, in my opinion.